So I got a question for all the social justice warriors out there. How is Kamala Harris not considered a racist according to your guys' new definition of racism? According to the so-called critical race theory, how is she not considered to be racist? Because I have been called an agent of white supremacy for having a different opinion than the Democratic plantation. I have been labeled a sellout because I do not believe in the same things that the far left believes. I I am seen as an agent of white supremacy, agent of racism in essence. Yet Kamala Harris, who, according to, again, your guys' definition, which I don't have the same definition of racism that you guys have. My definition is the same one that it has always been. Not the one where we move the goalposts and now it's not a personal thing. It's not me having a belief that I have racial superiority over you. Instead, now it is a system of inequity and injustice, and it is actually an institution of racism. It's nebulous. It's unseen. It's in the seams of society. It's everywhere, sprinkled on everything. Everything is just racism. I don't subscribe to that. I believe in the one-on-one. Anybody can be a racist. Anybody can be a bigot. And if nothing else, everybody can surely be an asshole, right? Including myself. I can be bigoted. I can see somebody and have, a certain feeling of maybe I'm better than that person. I could be prejudiced. Oh, that person's probably X, Y, and Z. Now, I don't believe myself to have any racial superiority, so I don't consider myself a racist. I don't view any other ethnicity as less than my quote unquote ethnicity, so I'm not a racist. But again, according to y'all definition, a racist is an institution that is based upon power. So technically, black people can't be racist because they have no power in this institution. They are actually subjugated. They're oppressed by the system. Therefore, they hold no power, which means they can't be racist. Okay, then with your definition, how is Kamala Harris, who used her power as the attorney general, which means that she was in the most powerful position a lawyer can be in, and a lawyer holds a lot of power. Just imagine being the most powerful lawyer within your ecosystem. And this woman used that power to put hundreds of black and brown people disproportionately, y'all love that word, disproportionately into jail for very petty things. How do you justify that? How do you justify mothers and fathers being thrown into jail for their children's tardiness? How do you sleep at night with the fact that you put people into prison for petty little loud pack cases, right? While hardened criminals were walking the streets under your watch, there were individuals who were chiefing a little cannabis. Now, I've stopped chiefing. I haven't touched a drug in a decade. Literally, I stopped at 19 and I was done. I haven't drank, smoked, etc. But if somebody wants to do that, that's their business. So how do you put these people in jail? And again, even worse off, the tardiness of a parent's child. You threw these people in jail. You exercised your power, Skamala. And I call you that because your entire campaign was a scam. The entire career is looking like a scam when we actually break the whole thing open. But how are you considered to be a champion of quote unquote people of color, a representation of marginalized people, when you yourself built your career off Willie Brown, first and foremost, let's not forget that, but built your outward career off of incarcerating individuals disproportionately, and some would say targeted. Because why was it disproportionate in that way? It wasn't that those were the demographics. You targeted these individuals, likely because it was easier to get cases or whatever it may have been, but you made those decisions. And now we have to believe that you don't fit into that definition. It was real convenient that she all of a sudden became black overnight. And that's something that, is oftentimes overlooked by the left, and I think intentionally, because you then have to look at the whole picture. Okay, if this person is pretending to be black, and by y'all far left definition, she's not a quote unquote FBA, right? So she can't even talk on black issues. She can't even represent black people. She's not a foundational black American. They call me a tether. They say I can't speak on these things because I'm a tether, right? But both sides of my family, black and black. Yes, we happen to have a migration to this country and become naturalized citizens, but nevertheless, black. Kamala, 50% Indian guaranteed. Another 50% Jamaican. What type of Jamaican? There's plenty of Indians in Jamaica. There's plenty of other ethnicities in Jamaica. And her father says he's not a black man. Why do I bring this up? Because this is the hypocrisy. And I'm so tired of like these news cycles going so fast that, you know, it's like, oh, well, that's old news. No, it's not old news because we had the wool pulled over our eyes. We were told that we were the racists, that we were the white supremacists or the agents of white supremacy, that we were the problem, that our vote for Donald Trump was a vote for racism, and that we were sexist and racist for voting for a woman who literally incarcerated hundreds of black and brown people, put them in jail for the most menial reasons, exercised her power and authority that you and I don't have. You and I can't put somebody in jail in that way. We may be somebody who's a witness to something. We may be able to call the police on somebody or whatever it may be. But we can't say, let's put a case on this and this and this. Let's change the law in this way and this way in order for these people to then be incarcerated. We can't exercise that power. So if racism is simply a system that is based on power, she has power. And I could use this in a multitude of other cases, right? You have cities where you have a black mayor, a black police chief, black city council members, etc. That's a power structure. But yet, well, they're still facing systemic racism. They are the system. They are the system. Don't ever get that twisted. Local politics is real. A lot happens at the local level. So how are they not considered to be exercising systemic racism when those people are targeted? Oh, it's because they fit into your narrative. Gotcha. It's because they fit into your agenda. Gotcha. If Kamala became a moderate, if not a conservative overnight, the same Kamala with the same exact temperament, etc., would be hated, despised by the left. She would now be called a non-black woman overnight. I guarantee it. And that's the hypocrisy that I hate. I despise a liar, but I hate hypocrisy. I despise a lie. But when I see hypocrisy where you're giving a double standard, oh, well, that it's good for, what's good for the goose is good for the gander type thing. No, if they do it, it's a problem. If I do it, it's okay. I'm not with that for anybody. That's why I call these things out. That's why I speak on racism towards white people. In the same way, if I was here in the 50s, 60s, 40s, 30s, I would be popping off about the discrimination, the systemic discrimination of the Democratic Party towards black folk. I would 1000% be an advocate. If I was in the 1700s, I would be an abolitionist in that time, speaking up against that Democratic plantation, 1000%. Today, in the year of our Lord 2025 and beyond, this happens to be the space in which people are being discriminated towards in reality. If you are white, you have no say anymore. I got folks who watch me who are just thankful that somebody is saying it. And I say to myself, why can't you say it? But then I really think to myself, well, I already get so much backlash for telling the truth. Just imagine you're somebody who is white and you're just trying to point out something that you're seeing. You're going to be banished. You are canceled in more than a few ways. Not just canceled online, but some people were getting fired from their jobs and things of that nature. Thank God we're finally healing. Not just as a nation, but as a planet, we're finally getting back to a place of mental stability and sanity. But there were times in which if you said something that deviated from that far left ideology, you were ostracized. You were, I'm trying to find a strong enough word because canceled isn't even it. It's the fascist way of dealing with things. That's how you were dealt with. They wanted to destroy you. That's what I'm looking for. They wanted to destroy you, and they still do. They want to destroy anything that's not like itself. That's not of its own yoke. That's not of its own ideology. That's why they eat their own as soon as you deviate. I did a story on Anna Kasparian. She's been a far lefty for as long as I remember. And she finally shared a story of how she was sexually assaulted by a homeless dude. And her entire audience turned on her and said, how dare you, speak on basically homeless people in this way, etc. It was mind blowing to hear this. But that's the left. These are the same people who care so much about illegal immigrants, but then when somebody voted for Trump, who might be an immigrant themselves, came here and did it the right way, these are the same people who want them to get deported. These are the same people who tell women who are pro-life or whatever it is that they hope that they get, aped and that they have to have the baby and that they bleed to death or suffer whatever it is. Like, these are the same people, the ones who purport to care so much about women's rights, but are the very ones who will oppose in the Senate and the House a bill that protects women. These are the same people. Lake and Riley Act and the Riley Gaines Act, right? The Lake and Riley, which had to do with a young woman who was brutally massacred. Her life was taken in the most brutal way by an illegal immigrant, and the left said nothing about it. Oh, what happened to what happened to protecting our women? What happened to our women, that are being assaulted, et cetera? Oh, because it's a legal immigrant. Oh, okay, got you. It doesn't fit your narrative. And that's my biggest problem. That's why I don't shut up about this stuff, because these messages need to be echoed and remembered, and these sentiments need to be repeated time and time again for it to stick. There's so much propaganda out here. There's so much false information, but there's also just straight up lies. There's straight up deceit taking place. There's a machine that is pumping this into the atmosphere 24/7 for whatever reason. They may feel justified in doing it. A lot of these far left activists genuinely believe they're saving the world when in truth, they're creating more dysfunction and chaos. And it has to be called out. I believe the antidote to darkness is light. The antidote to a lie is the truth. And that's my job, to continue to speak the truth. So if you're going to play it for one side, play it for all sides. Okay, if you're going to call us racist or this type of, then it's all racism. Then Kamala is the worst of the racists. The worst of the racists. I've heard of very few white attorney generals who are able to get that done. Very few. To get hundreds upon hundreds for such petty things, my God, that would be a controversy. But because it was masked in, a little bit of melanin, and it was in the DNC, in the Democratic organization, on the Democratic plantation, it's overseen.
I used to be afraid of the dark, place unknown like a heart in their heart. I used to see my life in the bar. Now the kids unchained, every shackle is lost. 2 steps in the moonlight, 2 step in the daytime. You just know when it feel right. You got a feeling the time's not. See you through those shades that I just threw on. Through my lenses, you just can't do no wrong. I fell in love with myself again. I fell in love with myself. I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking. A 3-6-5, that's a full rotation. I see you looking up, you know them constellations. Constantly gazing like house of praises, you get to praising.